Well, gardens can truly be beautiful, healing places, and it's great to see them used in that particular way. Thanks for opening the gates for us at that beautiful space. Now we're going to be talking about the Empresses of the Garden, and we're joined by none other than Michael Shoup.